Hello, welcome to Boardgame TV. We're continuing with our history of Ghost Rider and comics. And in between Series 2 and Series 3 of Ghost Rider, which was almost a damn near a decade, 3 miniseries came out. And we're going to be covering them in this video. Now, the first miniseries we're going to cover is Ghost Rider The Hammer Lane, under the Marvel Knights brand. Just think Marvel Edge. Marvel Edge didn't last, and eventually Marvel come up with their little Marvel Knights brand. And it had basically the same heroes. And it was basically serving the same purpose. Well, in 2001 this series came out, and I remember seeing an advertisement for it. And I was like, alright, good. Whew, that's pretty quick. 3 years. Alright, maybe now we'll finally get some answers. I know Johnny Blaze is going to be the Ghost Rider, but maybe now we'll get some answers as to what happened. And this will be a good series. And Marvel's goal of this was to come out with the miniseries and see if it would sell well enough for them to come out with a new Ghost Rider regular series. And I was all on board with that. And then the series actually came out. And I gotta honestly say, it is the worst piece of garbage series for Ghost Rider ever. It is even worse than Valdez's run on Ghost Rider. It's universally regarded as garbage. It's panned. It's done. It's forgotten. People just don't even recognize it half the time. Written by Devin Grayson, and the art by, and I'm gonna probably mispronounce this guy's name, Trent Kanuga. The series is basically an abomination, and it's just awful. I don't know what, and I don't know what they were thinking. It's like they never read Ghost Rider. They didn't know anything about Ghost Rider when they came up with this series. I don't know, and who the, I blame the editor and the editor-in-chief. I blame them more than anybody. Instead of correcting their mistake of ending the second Ghost Rider series on a cliffhanger and not printing that last issue, this series could have been used to bridge back some goodwill for doing that and give us answers as to what happened and set up something new. Instead, this series just goes off in its own stupid, weird thing and gives us no answers as to what happened at the end of the second series. Remember, that issue 94 won't get printed for several more years, so we still don't know how the second series ended. Mum has still been the word. Nobody's really ever talked about it and said anything about it. And this series comes out, and if you're a Ghost Rider fan, you're thinking, alright, maybe we'll get some answers here. It's a perfect opportunity to give us answers, and we get nothing. Alright, so the basic plot of the story is, it's been 3 years since the last Ghost Rider series. And Johnny Blaze is an accountant with an office firm, and he's been working there for 3 years. Okay, just think about that. Johnny Blaze, Mr. Stunt Cyclist himself, badass that he is an accountant with an office firm, and he's been working there for 3 years. Okay, and he has a girlfriend named Chloe. Now, whatever happened to Roxanne and his kids, this series doesn't say. I don't even think this series knows that he had a wife and kids. Okay, because they sure as hell don't acknowledge any of it. Anyway, he's got a girlfriend named Chloe, and now it seems that he's starting to be Ghost Rider again. And he's having a really hard time handling it. He's freaking out over being the Ghost Rider again more than he ever did back in the first series when this was all new to him. And it makes no sense whatsoever. But, just bear with me. So, he's freaking out about being the Ghost Rider, and so he takes the bike, his motorcycle, and if he touches the motorcycle when evil stuff is around, he becomes a Ghost Rider. So he takes the motorcycle to an old kind of like motorcycle repair guy, but who's kind of like a sage or something, and knows about Johnny Blaze and the curse of the Ghost Rider for some weird reason, though it's never explained who this guy is or how he knows everything. The guy tells him there's nothing wrong with the bike, it's all about you. And of course, then Johnny Blaze goes to a priest and begs the priest to do an exorcism on him. Now, of course, Johnny Blaze would know none of this crap would work. Why he would do any of that is just off the wall ridiculous. So one night, Johnny Blaze goes to a bar to get drunk. He overhears about a hit and run that just happened, and that the driver of the vehicle that did the hit and run is a trucker, and he just kept going. So this causes Johnny to turn into the Ghost Rider, and the Ghost Rider tracks down the trucker and basically kills the trucker. But before the trucker dies, the trucker says, look, I had no choice, because if I didn't, I'm hauling meth. If I didn't get the meth to the meth lab on time, they'd have killed me. So then Ghost Rider goes to the meth lab and messes stuff up there. But then the guy at the meth lab that he messes up tells him, well, you know, if we don't do our thing, the big boss is going to get, you know, would kill everyone. So the Ghost Rider's going to go after the big boss now. However, when he becomes Johnny Blaze again, he goes to a bar and gets drunk, and he overhears these hitmen talking, and he goes up to the hitman, and the guy's name is Gunmetal Gray. And he begs Gunmetal Gray to kill the Ghost Rider. He pays him to kill the Ghost Rider. Whatever it takes, no matter what. So Gunmetal Gray is going to kill the Ghost Rider. Even though Johnny Blaze should know that a normal guy, even I don't care how good of a hitman he is, couldn't kill the Ghost Rider. But, you know, here we go. So Gunmetal goes, and Johnny also tells him about, you know, how the Ghost Rider will go after the meth people and all that kind of stuff. So Gunmetal goes, gets to the meth place, basically blows it up, kills all the innocent people, gets in a fight with the Ghost Rider, but the Ghost Rider, you know, gets away. Johnny Blaze comes to the scene to find out what happened, and then it's at that point that Gunmetal kind of figures out that Johnny Blaze and Ghost Rider are the same. So Gunmetal starts to go to try to kill him. Meanwhile, Johnny Blaze is having spat with the Ghost Rider. Apparently, the Ghost Rider won't come out until Johnny accepts who he is and forgives him and all this kind of stuff. It's stupid. Mind you now that the Ghost Rider does not talk. The Ghost Rider says not one thing during this whole entire series. Okay? Not one word. So you don't know what the hell's... Is it Zarathos? Is it more of the Medallion of Power type thing? Who knows? So eventually it ends up being that Johnny Blaze forgives himself, forgives the Ghost Rider, comes at peace with it, and then he beats up the Gunmetal guy at Sturgis, where they get into a hand-to-hand fist fight, and then drives off with a new chick. He broke up with his girlfriend, drives off with a new chick into the sunset. The end. God almighty, these people should have been... Like I said, this was a perfect opportunity to explain what happened with the second series. We got this, and it is the worst. It's honestly the worst thing ever for Ghost Rider. It's worse than, you know, Valdez hit pretty rock bottom, but this is even worse. And God, it's so awful. They didn't know anything about Ghost Rider. The character Johnny Blaze was completely different from whatever he was. It was just terrible. There was no need for it. And there's a reason why this series is universally hated and forgotten about. And people just... that thing never existed. And the art. Let's get to the art. Okay, so the art is not really that good either. This guy, he draws okay, but there's a lot of misproportioned body parts, especially with Ghost Rider. He's got like big hands and big shoulders and stuff like that. and it just doesn't look that great. I'm sorry. Now I know it's a little bit more subjective, and if the story had been good, I wouldn't really care about the art. Honestly, I still really don't care about the art. I care more about the story. But if I'm going to judge the book, I'm also going to judge the art. I'm just giving my opinion. That, to me, was terrible art. And I didn't care for it, but that's not what destroyed the book for me. That's just not what destroyed the book for me. He gets the skull pretty good, but the hands and stuff like that, I don't know. And another thing is there's no burning people's souls with hellfire. Hell, I don't even know. I think the Ghost Rider uses hellfire and shoots it. He just straight up beats people up, and they end up getting killed and stuff like that. It's not that good. If you're a fan of Ghost Rider and you're a completionist, get this last. Okay? Get this last. I have to get it. I understand completionists. I understand that whole OCD mentality because I have OCD. I have to be a completionist about certain things. I mean, but yeah, you get it. Okay, get it last. If you want to get into Ghost Rider, or you're somewhat into Ghost Rider, avoid this series like the plague. It'll do nothing but piss you off, and yeah, it adds nothing to the series. So let's just end our discussion of that. So after this series failed and flopped, there was nothing for a while. But then the Ghost Rider movie was about to come out. Now, apparently there were still enough people at Marvel Comics to have enough common sense to say, hey, you know what? There's a Ghost Rider movie coming out. If it looks like it's going to be really popular, maybe we should come out with a Ghost Rider comic and capitalize on that. That way, you know, people come in a comic shop, hey, I just saw the Ghost Rider movies. You got a Ghost Rider comic? And we say, yeah, we do have a Ghost Rider comic. And so that was the whole idea, to see how well that went. So they decided to come out with another 6-issue series. And if the series did well, and the movie really is going over pretty good, then we can do a regular series. And so the 6-issue series was Road to Damnation. And it was written by Garth Ennis and art by Creighton Crane. Now, if you don't know who Garth Ennis is, he's big time. He's an acclaimed writer of comic books, one of the most popular and celebrated. Hell, right now, that TV show The Boys on Amazon is based off of one of his comics. Preacher, another TV show, off of his comics. When he worked for Marvel, he did... early in his career, he did The Punisher, and that brought The Punisher back. The Punisher had kind of gone off into God knows goofiness ways and stupid stuff, and he came and wrote The Punisher. And the Punisher movie with Thomas Jane, a lot of stuff in that is based off of what Garth Ennis wrote, and it's a more down-to-earth, realistic, gritty type thing that pokes fun at superheroes. Garth Ennis has a love-hate relationship with superheroes and religion. He's a comic book writer who writes superheroes and loves superheroes, but he's constantly poking fun at them and critiquing them. And it's the same way with religion. He does that all the time. And those type of themes are always prevalent in his books. My favorite book of his is Hitman. It's a DC comic book, which is another one of those comic books that I have every issue of. Came out in, what was it? During the early to mid 90s. It was during the what was it? He was introduced in the Demon comic book, and then he got a first adventure in, I think it was either Contagion or Cataclysm story arc, and then he got his own book, and it's one of my favorite DC books. It's a great book. I was truly sad when Garth Ennis ended that book. I know he was too. And he pokes fun at superheroes and that, but he also give superheroes some credit. It's a great comic book. It's one of the best of the 90s. If you ever have a chance to check it out, please do. That book will have you rolling and have some really good emotional stories. So when I heard that Ennis was going to do a Ghost Rider comic book, I was through the roof excited. I mean, I was like, all right. Woo. Almost to the point of aroused. I mean, that was just, oh man, he was one of my favorites. But in an interview, he mentioned something and it kind of had me a little wary. He said, basically, he's not a big fan of Johnny Blaze. He likes the Ghost Rider, but he's not a big fan of Johnny Blaze. And so Johnny Blaze does not appear in this Ghost Rider comic. He's the Ghost Rider the whole time. Okay? So let's get that out of the way. So if you're a big Johnny Blaze fan and you like Johnny Blaze, you're going to be disappointed because Johnny Blaze is not in this comic. He is the Ghost Rider the whole time. And it kind of it's ambiguous in some ways as to what happened to Ghost Rider, but it doesn't ruin the past continuity. Okay? Unlike the Hammer Lane, who had no idea who the hell Ghost Rider or Johnny Blaze was, this book doesn't ruin the continuity of the first two series. And it picks up later on, and it's just like for you to fill the gaps in between the series. And basically what happened was Johnny Blaze died. Somehow, some way. Hell caught up with him, or somehow, or something, and he died, and he's in hell. But he's Ghost Rider in hell. And every night he rides his bike in hell, and the demons chase him, and every night they catch him. And the next day it starts all over again, and he gets caught again. He's in this unending torment of well, he's basically, it's what you would call hell. He's every night, every day, and he cannot escape. Chased by the demons, gets caught, gets ripped to shreds. Next day, same thing all over again. So that's where Johnny Blaze is, and then that's all you're going to learn about the Ghost Rider's past, what he's been up to since the end of the second series. Okay, and this doesn't even mention the Hammer Lane series. So basically, there's this demon named Kazan, and he's fixing to come be unleashed basically upon Earth by this corporate guy named Earl Gustav. Earl Gustav is a fat, handicapped, miserable, rich, very rich guy who's the head of this, I think it was oil company, and he just hates life and hates everybody in general. And he has a mousy assistant named Miss Catmint, basically who he abuses a lot and stuff like that. Well, Earl is basically going to conjure up that demon Kazan and let him loose on the world, so Earl can kind of like not be stuck in a wheelchair anymore and live. And he knows exactly what the demon's going to do to the world. Doesn't care. All he cares about is himself. But apparently this demon, who's a very powerful demon, has some information, or it was in cahoots with some people, and so both heaven and hell are sending their agents to go and stop him. Hell is sending this guy named Hoss, who's like a fat cowboy, drives a Cadillac. He's hilarious. And heaven is sending that lady there, Ruth, who's like a cold-hearted, calculating, she's an angel, and just ruthless. And these two angels named Micah and Malachi and Daniel don't want Ruth or Hoss to basically get a hold of the demon. They want, because if they do kill the demon and get a hold of Kazan, that Kazan has dirt on these two angels. Apparently the angels and them were in cahoots at one point or time doing something. So they don't want them, so they come up with an idea, and they want to get somebody that's gullible and very powerful to destroy the demon. And they say, well, who they think of the Ghost Rider. So basically they free Ghost Rider from hell. and they say, look, if you kill this demon, we'll make sure you stay free, okay? And so Ghost Rider basically goes to go kill the demon. And I don't want to ruin or get into the every aspect of the story, because I highly recommend you read this series. Because it's funny, but yet it's serious. It's typical perfect Garth Ennis. My only fault is, like I said, Johnny Blaze is nowhere in it. But the short of the story is that Ghost Rider ends up teaming up with Hoss and Ruth, kind of in a way, and they stop the demon Kazan, but Ghost Rider gets betrayed and gets put back in hell again. And Ruth and Hoss get promoted. That's what way Garth Ennis puts it. See, both heaven and hell have like hierarchies where you can get promoted to an upper management job. And the two angels that got Ghost Rider to go kill him were demoted, if you would say, in a way. And Ruth and Hoss they work together, so they each get promoted within their respective departments. It's like I said, Garth pokes fun at religion. He doesn't poke fun at a lot of superheroes in this book, because there's not really. He pokes a lot of fun at religion and stuff, though. Okay, so if you're sensitive about that, then this may not be for you. Okay, let's just get that right out of the bat. If you're sensitive about religious subjects, this series won't be for you. But if you're okay with it, it's definitely a must-read. I would definitely get this series. Ghost Rider does show a few new variations on his powers, like he can spit chains out of his mouth and a few other things. So there is a few things with that. You could say, well, he's learned to do that in the years. But you can give it a little leeway. As far as the art goes, it's Creighton Crane. Now, from what I understand, I'm not an artist, it's digital art. See, that cover right there is exactly what it looks like inside the comic book. The whole comic book looks that style. Apparently, it's digital art. He does something with the computer and makes the art up with the computer and that kind of stuff. And man, it looks really good. It does not have the same look or feel as hand-drawn art. You can definitely tell it's computerized, a totally different feel. And I don't see this much anymore these days, but for a period of time, this was kind of the in thing in Marvel and or with comics in general. And yeah, it looks really good. It's really good. It's amazing what the guy can do with this digital stuff and the art from that way. So hey, Road to Damnation. It's one of the more acclaimed series from Ghost Rider. It's Garth Ennis. Pick it up, get it. You won't regret it. Really good. So, Road to Damnation was so successful, and the movie was a big enough hit that the third Ghost Rider series would be launched, but that's for another video. And right after that time, when the third series was launched, the third mini-series would come out, and it's Garth Ennis and Clayton Crane again. Because their first series was so successful, they asked Garth to do another one, and they had Crane with them, and so they did. And this series is a little bit different. It really doesn't poke fun at superheroes because it takes place in the Old West. It's an old Western tale about a Ghost Rider that was around in the Old West. And although at this point in time, there has not really been much lore in the comics to suggest there were a whole bunch of other Ghost Riders. Later on in the third series, that would come to pass, that there can only be one Ghost Rider for like every major place. Like there can be one in Asia, or one in China, and one in Japan, and one in America, but there can never be like two in America, or that type of thing. So, and that there always has been Ghost Riders through the ages, okay? And So that kind of gets established, but this is the seed for that kind of lore that'll come up later on. And basically, this is just a tale of revenge. It's almost kind of like Django Unchained, honestly. This came out in 2007. And basically, the whole gist of the story is there's this Confederate soldier named Travis Parham. And he's in a battle, and he gets wounded real bad, and he gets saved by a black guy named Caleb. And Caleb takes Travis to his farm and kind of mends him up and introduces him to his wife and his kids. And they come to get to know each other, even though they're both on different sides of philosophy about stuff like that. They come to be really good friends. Caleb says, look, I bought myself out of slavery, so I was never freed. And I don't have any hatred for you. You're a human being and that kind of thing. And so they, like I said, they grow to be really good friends. And, however, there is this one scene where Travis learns that Caleb kind of worships the old gods of his ancestors from Africa, and he collects the skulls of his family members are put into a little shrine on his farm, and that kind of stuff. Kind of like voodoo, but not quite. So anyways, Caleb leaves. He's going to go... I'm sorry, Travis leaves. He goes out west to pursue his fortune and fame and stuff like that. Try to rebuild his life. And then he comes back, I don't know, a year or something later. And he finds that the farm where Caleb had lived at has been almost destroyed, and these two guys are like living there or staying there. And of course, basically what happened was after Travis left, these racist white people came and were, killed Caleb, his wife, his kids, made him watch, and then just destroyed a lot of stuff. And two of the gang members stayed behind to take ownership of the rest of the farm. Now, the leader of the gang is Reagan, and of course there's a bunch of members of the gang. Think the Hateful Eight. They're a lot like that. They're all hateful people. And of course, the reason they killed Caleb because this is our land, and you're not going to take our land. You're not going to take our women and that kind of stuff. Typical Western white races who hates black people. So Travis decides, well, he's going to get revenge and go hunt Reagan and his group down. And he starts to do so. But something else is hunting Reagan and his group down. And it's the Ghost Rider. But it's a different version of a Ghost Rider you've never seen before. He rides a horse. He kills in different ways. He can kind of almost like reanimate the corpses of the people he killed so he can send them a message. Like, he does do that. He can speak through dead people. That's it right there. That's basically him, the Ghost Rider. He wears that. So his power set doesn't stick to your typical normal Ghost Rider powers. Again, that's not Enos's strong point in continuity with what came before, but this is its own standalone series, and it would be logical if Ghost Riders had different powers. I mean, Johnny Blaze's powers as Ghost Rider were very much different from Danny Ketch's, and Vengeance, when he was Ghost Rider, his powers were, different. He didn't have a pendant stare or anything like that than the others. So it is conceivable that Ghost Riders can have different powers. Well, it's the Ghost Rider hunting him down. Of course, the Ghost Rider is Caleb. But he's not quite Caleb. He's Caleb, but he's not. When Caleb became Ghost Rider to get revenge, he kind of lost something of himself, if you could say it like that. And so he's not quite the man he once was. So it's not like he can like turn back into Caleb and during the daytime is back in control or anything like that. It's not like that. He's always the Ghost Rider like that, and he's just not quite Caleb. He's not his humanity. He has no humanity, basically. So after a confrontation with the Ghost Rider there, Reagan and his gang lose a couple more members, but basically Ghost Rider is killing them one by one. He'll capture one, kill one of them, they'll run, and he'll chase them to their next location and do that. And Travis is trying to catch up and do all this, try to get revenge on him as well. So Reagan gets the bright idea to go see these Indian shaman and kind of tell them their situation. And so the Indian shaman says, "There's nothing for you, you're going to die." And Reagan's kind of like, "Well, you know, here's some stuff. Just tell us what we can do." So basically, Reagan performs a ritual with him and his other few of his men by eating a heart, and they kill themselves. But they come back, and they come back as something more. Think almost kind of like zombies, but with all their facilities and capacities intact. They come back and they start freaking they go raid city and just go on a big killing spree. And our new Ghost Rider can't take them all on by himself. So basically what happens in the end, of course, is the new Ghost Rider, Caleb Ghost Rider and Travis kind of team up to take the gang out. Caleb gets his revenge, but Travis is hurt really bad and is never quite the same mental-wise because he sees the depths of the evil that Caleb had become, and what revenge and hatred and all that stuff kind of does to people. And this is a guy who's a veteran of the Civil War, mind you, too, so he's seen a lot. So it has a really kind of downer ending with that. It's a good series. To me, it's not as good as the Road to Damnation. But it's still a very good series, and I would still, if you can get it, get it. You know, if you are a collector, I would also get this series. I wouldn't make it as high on your list, but I would get it nonetheless because it's still a very good read. It reminds me a lot of Enos's Saint of Killers miniseries, which Saint of Killers is a character in the Preacher comics, and he did like a little miniseries to kind of give the backstory to him. And Saint of Killers is a Old West type guy, and so it kind of reminded me a little bit of that. You can tell Enos likes writing Old West stories. So yeah, it's a good story. Clayton, I don't know why I keep saying it. Clayton Crane's art. He does the same thing. It's the digital art, and it's really good. I think it's not as crisp as in the first series as well, but it's more muddled a little bit more. I think that was just the style they were trying to go for. So yeah, I mean, it's still really good art though. It's still amazing what they did with the whole digital art thing. So I would highly I would recommend getting it. I just wouldn't put it higher up on the list. I would save, get it kind of later. Hammer Lane, avoid like the plague, and Road to Damnation, yeah, get whenever you can, because that's the way those books go. So, 2 out of 3 of the miniseries being good is not bad. So that's it for my critique on the miniseries. The next video we're going to start on the 3rd Ghost Rider series. So I hope to see you then. Until then, have fun. Yeah, also I have to say one last thing. I forgot to mention this. The Hammerland series was 6 issues, but they have a half issue. And it was a promotion through Wizard Comics. That's it right there. Okay? And you had to order off with Wizard Comics to get it. It's still the same writer, same artist, and it's kind of like a prelude to the main series. And what it basically is these corporate guys have gotten away with this company, like, had a product and the product was kind of defective, and they still put it out even though they knew it was defective, and people got hurt, and they kind of skated away in the court of law from it. They weren't held too liable. And Johnny Blaze was reading a magazine or sees a news thing about it, and he turns into the Ghost Rider. He goes and just destroys just about everybody in the damn building from that company that was part of the whole getting off legally. So that's basically it's not a full issue. It's a half issue really, and it's really not that good. Ghost Rider doesn't say anything. Johnny Blaze doesn't say much. So hell, I can't even remember if he's in it, to be honest with you. But that was the Wizard of One Half. You can buy it in retail, although I wouldn't buy anything with the Hammer Lane. But if you're a completionist, you can buy it at comic book stores, but it may just be a little bit harder to find. I just wanted to put that in there. But yes, you originally had to. Wizard Magazine had several promotions like this with different comics and different companies, or if a new series was coming out, you could order the half issue. It was like a promotional issue through them, and it was meant to be kind of like a collector's item type thing. So I know I totally forgot to mention that, but I wanted to mention that. So now for sure, I will see you next time. Have fun.